himself. "Oops, that's not down, that's up." Jasper adjusted the Bunsen burner again. "Ouch! OK, that's still quite hot. Right, where are the protective gloves?" Jasper looked around and saw the gloves locked away in the cupboard. "Rightio, OK, no need to panic." The custard began to boil over and spill down the sides of the glass and onto the desk. "No worries, I'll use my tie instead of gloves." Jasper grabbed his tie and tried to turn the Bunsen burner down. OK, now my tie's on fire. Not to worry, the last thing I must do is panic. My nipples are quite hot, though, but not to worry, I can get out of this." Jasper pulled off his shirt and tie over his head and began to stamp on them. He picked up his singed tie and wiped his brow with the back of his hand. "Phew, that was close. I thought I was going to cause a—" "Fire!" he screamed, looking up at the bench. He'd been so busy stamping out the flames that he hadn't noticed the custard spilling down from the tripod and catching fire. The good news was that Jasper had seemingly found the secret to everlasting custard. The bad news was he'd invented flammable custard at the same time. Jasper grabbed the nearest bottle of water and threw it over the whole mess. The small fire turned into a medium-sized explosion. Jasper looked at the bottle of water and saw that it was labelled ethanol, highly flammable. "OK, now is probably the time to panic." A loud alarm sounded, and then the sprinklers kicked in. Suddenly the whole science lab was as damp as a rainforest, and soon the hot custardy fireball sizzled itself out. Jasper, still topless and covered in custard, ran out of the science lab and into the playground, just as the first wave of fire engines arrived. Putting his tie back on, he lined up with the rest of his class behind Mrs. Plum, his teacher, as she counted everyone to make sure no one was missing. "Spam!" yelled Mrs. Plum. That's right, Jasper's surname was Spam. As you can imagine, his classmates hardly ever made jokes about it. "Oi, Spamface, why are you not wearing your shirt? Miss, the new boy Spam Sandwich is naked, miss," a boy called Hector Wiggle helpfully pointed out. "I am not naked," Jasper yelled back. "Look, I clearly have trousers, socks, shoes, and a tie on. Yes, I am shirtless, but I am nearer being dressed than being naked." This is probably not the best thing to shout when you're in a playground full of children and you've only been there a week. It was at that point everyone started to laugh. Jasper shook his head. This was turning into a really rotten Tuesday. "Look, miss, Jasper's brains have leaked out. Look, he has brains on him, miss," a girl in Jasper's class said to the teacher, but in that way that meant everyone could hear. Jasper looked down at his custard-covered belly and scooped up a bit with his finger. He licked it. "It's not so bad, you know, flame-grilled custard," Jasper thought to himself as he took a moment to savour the taste. "Oh, miss, Spam's eating his own brains," Hector Wiggle hollered, his eyeballs practically flying out of his head. The whole school squirmed in horror. "Obviously I'm not eating my own brains," Jasper screamed back. "You don't have to be a genius to know that would be impossible. I'd be dead. What are you all, morons?" "All right, Spam, keep it down," ordered Mrs. Plum. At that moment 5 burly firemen came out of the science block and strode over towards Mrs. Plum, who immediately started fanning herself with her hands.
"Are you the head teacher?"
one of the firemen asked.
"No, that would be me," said Mr. Brooks, the headmaster, barging his way over. "Hi, I'm Mr. Brooks." "Chief Fire Officer Stevens, we've located the source of the fire, and I'm glad to say that it's out now. It was in the science block, but me and the lads can't work it out. The whole place was filled with—" "Filled with what?" Mr. Brooks asked. "Custard,"
Stevens replied.
"There was loads of it. Quite a mess in there, in fact. Almost like it was—"
"It was what?" Mr. Brooks yelled.
"Everlasting custard. I know, silly of me. There's no such thing. If only there were, lads?"
the chief said with a chuckle to the rest of the firemen.
"Anyway."